We didn't have a December meeting, so we didn't get it. It's Christmas presents. Christmas in May.
All right, good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the May meeting of the LCTCS Board of Supervisors Executive Committee. Thank you for joining us today promptly at 10 a.m. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that the board meeting is being live streamed via YouTube. And with that, I will turn it over to illustrious Chairman Paul Price to call our meeting to order.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this point, I'd like to call the May 11, 2022 LCTCS Board of Supervisors Executive Committee meeting to order. Supervisor Smith, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Sarah, you call the roll, please, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Happy to do so. Supervisor Price. Supervisor Mouse.
Present.
Supervisor Jackson is absent. Supervisor Chase is absent. Supervisor Hardy.
Present.
Supervisor Murphy.
Here.
Supervisor Smith.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a report of the executive committee.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. At this point, I would request a motion to approve the May 11th meeting agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Knapp and a second by Mr. Smith.
Any discussion? Any opposition to that? None appears. Everybody should have a copy of their July 7th, 2021 meeting minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve those as presented.
Motion by Mr. Hardy,
Second.
second by Ms. Knapp.
Second, any more discussion? Any opposition? None, motion carries. At this point, I would like to offer my board. Remind you that commencement season is upon us again. Schedule at your station, so I encourage you to attend the commencement in your area if you can. Also, the Louisiana Delta Community College ribbon cutting at the Ruston campus is scheduled for June 9th, 2022 at 1 o'clock. Of course, you are all invited to attend if your schedule allows. And if you have not completed the Tier 2.1 ethics disclosure yet, you need to do so soon. May 16th is the date on that. That's about all I've got. Dr. Sullivan.
Very good, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the chair's report. Just have one item on the president's report today. That relates to the pay equity study that was requested by the board, I think, at the April meeting. If you'll recall, we had some discussion about the Chancellor's contracts, and there was a request from a board member to begin looking at the pay equity study specifically for Chancellors, and then to begin to move that throughout the organization more broadly. That work has already begun. I'd like to turn to Joe at this point and ask if, Joe, if you can give us a quick update on the work that's been done today.
Certainly, yes, sir. Currently, right now, the consultants are gathering data, comparative data for both in-state and regionally to have comparisons of our current compensation structures, our chancellors with outside sources. And again, I'll just kind of go through a few bullets on their methodology that they're going to be using. It's not the end all be all, but obviously it's looking at the base salary, the starting salary, performance-based compensation, compensation based on school size and other related factors, and other allowances and incentives. The plan is obviously they will present that information to us at a later meeting coming up shortly in June as a recommendation for us to act on.
Good. Any questions on the pay equity study? A couple of other quick updates by way of Foster Promise. Just yesterday, we learned that we're just over 2,000 applicants for Foster Promise at this point. Just about 900 of those, 800 and some change, have been fully qualified. So those students are eligible to begin July 1. Here's the most important part of those numbers. The vast majority, 90+% of the 2,000 or so applicants that we've had are people who were not previously enrolled in higher education. That's the purpose of a Promise program, is to make sure that you grab a segment of the population we didn't have before. And right now, we need that enrollment desperately, and those individuals need college desperately. So we are excited about what's possible here. We believe there are about 4,000 to 5,000 individuals that are already enrolled at our colleges spring semester that will be eligible in the fall. So what this means is roughly 5,000 students will benefit from the Promise program. We believe we will spend this money down by the end of December, first semester, $10.5 million, 10 million. The privates have the $500,000 remaining there. But just know that the work that has gone on to this point has been focused on new enrollments. And we look forward to probably about the July 1 timeframe, having a much better sense for you as to the mix of who's going into credit programs, who's going into the workforce non-credit space, and a much better sense of how many students will be able to touch total across the total file. Any questions on Foster Promise? All right, with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you for the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Your brevity is noted.
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Mann, would you present the academic action items for consideration?
Yes, sir. Under academics, item 1, program health index.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
This is an LCTCS policy of 1.047, where we ask colleges to submit about 1/3 of their programs, just do some self-analysis on whether or not they're putting out graduates that actually align with high wage, high demand jobs, programmatic goals, and even program fiscal health. So staff recommend that we accept, or you accept, the program health index of the colleges, and you should have it as
Any questions or comments? No action is necessary. Item 2, review and advisement revisions to LCTC policy number 2.005.
Good morning.
Morning.
Agenda item G2 is a simple revision to existing policy 2.005 to clarify term conditions and vacancies in the 2 student boards. So the recommendation is that staff recommends the board accept for review and advisement the revisions to LCTCS policy 2.005 student board.
Any comments or questions?
If I may, Supervisor Mount, just
Yes.
a little bit of background. This year, we had a circumstance play out. As you know, we have 2 student board members only. We had a student board member from Delgado that midway through the year accepted a full-time position. Great, that's success, right? But could not balance board role as well as the job. And so Jack decided to step off the board. And when that happened, it put us in a position of having to kind of look back across time and figure out whether we wanted to go back and try to find a replacement or not. And this spells out pretty clearly from a policy point of view when we do replace the position and when we do not. As you know, our current student board member from Bossier Parish Community College was the addition to the board to replace Jack. And at this point, she's had an opportunity to be a part of, I think, 2 board member meetings, right? Or will. No, that's correct. April and March. You're right. So that was the extent of her service on the board. Probably not a good thing to just throw students into that mix for that short period of time, because there's a lot that happens leading up to these board meetings, so students understand their role in this mix. So I think this clarifies the policy and gives us a much better footing.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Item number 3, Delgado Community College honorary degree.
And I'll take this one. So chairman and members of the board. So under LCTCS policy 1.001, with board approval, colleges are allowed to grant an honorary associate of arts and humane letters to any individual who has made substantial achievements in their respective field or endeavor. And today we bring forward a request to approve an honorary degree for Delgado Community College. The individual is a New Orleans native and an accomplished business professional and philanthropist with strong ties to the local community, dedicated to contributing to the growth and enhancement of the Gulf South region. They also enrich New Orleans community by supporting causes in health and wellness, cancer care, education, arts, and faith-based sectors. And their vision and passion make them a well-deserved candidate of this honor. And staff recommends that the board vote to approve the awarding of an honorary Associate of Arts and Humane Letters degree at Delgado Community College to an individual publicly named during commencement.
Is there a motion?
So motion by Mr. Hardy, a second by Mr.
Judy
Smith.
seconds. Is there any objection to the motion?
So we're keeping this under wraps for another week, if that's what's happening, Chancellor?
So, in
No
all
reason for me to
seriousness,
ask you who it is right now. Keep it under wraps. Even I can read between those
Surprise.
lines.
Any
So-
questions or comments?
if I
Just
may,
write it on a piece
Yeah.
of paper and slip it to me under the table.
That's right. Real quick point here, because this is one that in the past we have had honorary degree requests that we name the individual in the item itself.
Right.
The value to the college is to be able to surprise individuals. And so what I'd like to do is over the next couple of board meetings, we'll come back to you with policy that clarifies how we do these in the future. Because we don't want someone to learn that they're getting this honorary degree through the process of a board meeting. We want them to learn it in the midst of commencement, right? But I also want to be sure that you as board members have enough information to say, yes, we want to bestow this degree upon this individual, okay? Again, you know who this individual is, right? Not much of a secret here, and certainly someone that has done great things on behalf of Delgado, but the greater New Orleans community in the state of Louisiana. So if there are any questions on this, I'm glad to answer them, but certainly would prefer that we keep the name under wraps.
Any other comments or questions? No objection to the motion on the floor? Motion passes. All yours.
Good job.
Thank you.
Supervisor Smith, you handle the
Sure. First item is we're going to demolish a building in New Road. I guess, Joe, you're taking these?
Yes, sir. We have a situation, a new road, basically, there's 4 buildings on this campus that, when a demolition was started in 2020, they started peeling back some of the sheet rock and looking behind it. They found areas where there was termites, some mold, and so forth. And they kept digging into not only that building, but other buildings. They found that it was a systemic issue across the campus, in which case they vacated the property, shut it down for safety reasons to both staff and students, and are asking henceforth it's easier to demolish the buildings than to do remediation. The remediation cost right now are about $350,000. That would include mold, lead paint, asbestos. This was a building that was donated back in 1982. So it's just easier to demolish the building than it is to renovate it. And so they're asking permission from the board for that action, which is necessary before they take any action on it. As such, staff recommends the board approve the demolition of 4 buildings at the Baton Rouge Community College, New Roads campus in accordance with the revised statute 38:2212.1. The demolition of these buildings requires the approval of facility planning and control and notification of appropriate legislators.
So we've heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Mount, second by Mr. Hardy. Any questions or comments on this item? Joe, do we own the property underneath them? I mean, is the state property, we demolish the building and have a fair piece of land?
We do, and there are plans where we are seeking funding to reestablish that site. In many cases, many of these smaller sites, we kind of move away from true bricks and mortar and try to move to more efficient building structures with I won't say 10, but basically a commercial type building that is very easy to maintain and upkeep. Obviously, no flat roofs, right? We're getting away from that completely. Henceforth, the mold and rot issue we had on this structure, but try to do something that's fairly inexpensive and quickly can be done, and it's aesthetically pleasing to accommodate students and staff and faculty.
If there are no objections to that motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a cooperative endeavor agreement between LCTCS, Louisiana Delta Community College, and Union Growth and Development Foundation.
Yes, sir. This is just a technical correction to a previous board action that was passed back in February of 2020, when the board acted to authorize Delta to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement. At that time, to use the Farmerville High School. At that time, the motion referenced the school board, which is not the appropriate party. The appropriate party is the Union Growth and Development Foundation. So this is just a technical correction to that previous action item. As such, staff recommends the board amend the prior board action and authorize the president and the chancellor of Louisiana Delta Community College to negotiate and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Union Growth and Development Foundation to use property located at 300 Anthony Street, Farmerville, Louisiana, for educational purposes.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion? So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hardy, second by Mr. Kenny.
Great. Any questions for Joe on this motion? Any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, this motion carries. That's it for me, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, as a point of clarification, I'd like to note for the record that Ms. McConkey has joined us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Smith. At this point, I will present the finance items for consideration by the committee. Number 8, send the Boyles campus realignment.
Yes, sir. At the April 2021 meeting, a motion was taken by the board to realign certain campuses of Central Louisiana Technical Community College with Bossier Parish, Sowella, and South Louisiana Community College. The Boyles campus was one of them that was going to be realigned with South Louisiana Community College. However, at that time, we were also moving to provide accreditation funds to CLTCC to help bolster their movement towards the SACS accreditation process. That process has come to fruition. The Board of Regents is providing funds to Central Louisiana Technical Community College within the amount of $1 million this year and next year for SACS accreditation purposes, which kind of ease the burden or the push to be able to move Boyles to South Louisiana Community College. With that action, we feel that it's more appropriate to leave Boyles where it is currently at CLTCC so that accreditation process can proceed and come to fruition.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Well, yes, sir. I'll just read the motion. Based on recent Southern Association of Colleges and Schools application status of Central Louisiana Technical Community College, CLTCC, and the good standing of South Louisiana Community College, staff recommends the board partially rescind its action taken at the April 2021 meeting and direct that the Boyles campus remain with Central Louisiana Technical Community College.
Motion. Approved. Is there a second?
Second by Ms. McConkey.
Motion second, any discussion?
Just a little bit of background here. You know, when we took this action in April of 21, there were a lot of things that we didn't know. Most of it was financial. Most of it was and a lack of information on things like enrollment and revenue, a lack of information on things like the accreditation process for Central. What's happened since then, and it was solely by the circumstance that SLCC found itself in being on probationary status with SACS. They would not allow the transition of a campus while they're on probation. So that probationary status will roll off in June. We have already made the transition for the Manning and the Natchitoches campus in terms of the SACS portion to Bossier Parish Community College. We have also gotten positive recommendations on the Lamar Salter campus moving from Central to Sowella. So all of the pieces of this thing are coming together. The application is looking really, really good. Application date will go in. The application is already in, but the date it will be considered will be the December meeting, right? December of this coming year. We feel really good that the college is in a much better financial position to be able to get this thing accomplished. The folks in the community weren't crazy about losing their campus, to be frank. And this is an opportunity for us to go back and say, look, we went back, we reran the numbers, and we're in a place we feel like we can hold on to it. What I have asked is for Chancellor Saltel and Chancellor June to work together to be sure we are serving the Boyles prison. One of the challenges that we've run into previously was the inability to serve people within a correctional institution when you're struggling to get enrollment down at the local college because we weren't able to generate revenue from those prison enrollments. So I will continue to ask for a partnership between those two colleges to make sure that we're able to deliver second chance Pell to the individuals at that Boyles prison. That was one of the big benefits, I think, of the move, and they wanted to hold on to that. So I think this also demonstrates to communities that this board has not only given lip service to the notion that the community has a say, but you've acted based upon what the community would like to see happen. I think that's an important point for us to keep in mind along the way. But, thank you for the action and glad to answer any questions.
Have we started collecting Pell from those inmates?
We do have, Amy, I believe we do have, or Dr. Cable, I'm sorry, we do have a couple of examples where we have second chance Pell in place where we are collecting Pell grants on behalf of specific students where we have the second chance Pell sort of pilots taking place, right?
North Shore is one of them. Fletcher is another one, and there's one company that I can't.
I think Central most recently.
Central is
just added,
the most
right.
recent one, and they've started their meetings
Yes.
with the Department of Ed to discuss how that will work.
What about the foster promise? It don't fit in that, does it?
It does not. It doesn't preclude them, because they're incarcerated, it doesn't preclude them because of incarceration. What typically gets that population is violent felon. So you can be a convicted felon, but it can't be a violent felon. And in most of the instances of what we're dealing with, unless it's a drug-related offense, typically they will fall within the category of a violent offender.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Any more discussion? Any opposition to the motion? Supervisor Harding, personnel action items, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I request a motion to enter into executive session to discuss item G7, appointment of interim chancellor at River Parishes Community College.
Your motion?
Second.
And second by Ms. McConaughey.
And at this time, I request a roll call vote.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Klein Peter.
Supervisor Price,
Yes.
Supervisor Mount,
Yes.
Supervisor Hardy,
Yes.
Supervisor Murphy,
Yes.
Supervisor McConaughey. Yes. Supervisor Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the committee has unanimously voted to enter executive session at 10:20.
We're gonna go next door.
Yes, sir. You walk outside and go around the corner and the first door, right? Yeah. I would like to call a roll call to reestablish quorum following the executive committee meeting that ended at 10. Supervisor Price,
Here.
Supervisor Mount,
Present.
Supervisor Hardy,
Present.
Supervisor Murphy,
Present.
Supervisor McConduit, present, Supervisor Smith.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you do have a quorum of the board.
Good, thanks, ma'am. At this point, I want to reconvene the meeting. I would like to state that no votes were taken and no consensus was reached during the executive session.
This next item is personnel action, appointment of interim chancellor at River Parishes Community College.
Mr. Chairman, if we may, want to give just a little bit of background, and I know that the board would like to express their thanks. About 20 months ago, we turned to Dr. Jim Crossan and asked that he lead River Parishes Community College on the heels of its second permanent chancellor retiring. It's important to note that that college has only had 2 leaders throughout time, and that what that means is the college hasn't necessarily been through that process of identifying their leader. Jim stepped in, did an incredible job in circumstances that none of us could have predicted. Jim, we're just thankful for your time at River Parishes, for all your contributions. But it reaches a point in time when a gentleman's driving from Mandeville to Gonzales every day that it just says, I don't know if I can do this any longer. And so Jim said it to me not once, not twice, but 3 times, and the 3rd time I believe it. So, Jim, thank you for all that you've done. And this board, one of the things that took us a little time in executive session was just thankful for your efforts and your work. So with that, the board has drafted a resolution, and I'm glad to read it. Or Supervisor Hardy, if you would like to, either way.
Whatever you order me to do.
Okay, whatever I order. I'll do it. I'll do it. The resolution reads, whereas Dr. Jim Crossan has served as interim chancellor at River Parishes Community College since the fall of 2020, and whereas Jim's interim appointment lasted longer than originally planned. I'd say that is the case, right?
Understand.
He gave unselfishly of himself for nearly 2 years and provided strong leadership during a difficult time in the college's history. And whereas Jim and his has been a champion for the mission of North Shore Technical Community College, River Parishes Community College, and the Louisiana Community Technical College system at all levels of education for many years. Whereas Jim has helped bring stability and renewed focus on student achievement and faculty staff development at River Parish Community College. And whereas it is altogether fitting that the Louisiana Community Technical College system recognize those individuals who have made contributions to the system of higher education now. Therefore, be it resolved that the LCTCS Board of Supervisors expresses its appreciation for the contributions made by Dr. Jim Crossan during his service as interim chancellor at River Parishes Community College. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be entered permanently into the minutes of the Louisiana Community Technical College Board of Supervisors Executive Committee meeting records, signed by this on this 11th day of May 2022 by Paul Price Jr., Chairman, Louisiana Community and Technical College Board of Supervisors. Jim, perhaps if you'd like maybe to say a few words.
It's a surprise. But I do want to say, Dr. Sullivan and the entire LCTCS board, I appreciate the opportunity. As you said, it's been a little longer than we expected. However, I grew to love River Parishes Community College, and I know they're in good hands moving forward. But I have to say, I look forward to go back to North Shore and getting back home on a little bit more permanent basis. And I truly, I don't know how many of y'all know this, but in 1998, I was hired to be a speech instructor at Jones Junior College in Mississippi. And I promise you, I never thought I'd be a college student. They probably didn't either. So, I think it's a great thing, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank y'all.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn back to you as given the departure effective, I think, with the end of the spring semester, May 31st. Dr. Crossan will be returning to North Shore, which creates a vacancy. And you have in front of you an item that you've already read. I'm glad to provide the recommendation. Staff recommends that the board appoint Mr. Quentin Taylor as interim chancellor of River Parishes Community College effective June 1, 2022, until such time a permanent chancellor assumes the position. The appointment will provide an annual base salary of $186,257, a housing allowance of $25,000, a vehicle allowance of $7,500, or the use of a state vehicle, and a civic organization's allowance of $2,500 for a total compensation package $221,257.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Mount, second by Mr. Murphy.
Any discussion? Opposition? Hearing none, approved. Congratulations.
Would like to give you an opportunity, if you would like to say a few words to the board.
Just thank you for the Sullivan board.
Very good. Thank you. There are oftentimes in organizations like this one, there are benefits that go well beyond the typical of seeing the work get done, seeing a career go from point A to point B. But watching this guy grow over the 10 years or so that you and I have had an opportunity to work together, could not be more proud of you, and I look forward to seeing what you'll do at River Parishes Community College. And I just want to see the video where you tell Landon. That's all, just the video. Congratulations, buddy. Proud of you.
Are you done, Mr. Hardy?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think I am done.
Thank you, sir.
Honored.
At this point, I'd like to present the consent agenda for consideration by the committee.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, staff recommends that the board approve the consent agenda, which consists of agenda items H1 through H3.
There's a motion. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Motion by Ms. Mount, second Mr. Markovich.
Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion carries. Updates, everybody got a list of updates there. I'd like to encourage all of you to review these items. Is there any additional business to come before the committee?
Mr. Price, I'd like to note for the record that there was no request for public comment in any of our methods.
Okay, very good. At this point, I would like to remind everybody on the committee that the next regular meeting of the board is June the 8th. It will take place in person at the regular meeting location at the RCC. Any other announcements? Motion to adjourn from anyone?
So moved.
Second? You're adjourned. Thank you.
Very good.
everyone.
Thank you.
Members of the board, lunch should be here momentarily.
Okay.
And I know a few of you have to attend
Yes.
the other meeting, so you're welcome to hang out.